Welcome to the High Level Wife Podcast. This is a space for Christian wives who love God, want their marriage healed, and are done performing, fixing, striving, or trying to control their way to change. Here we're going to talk about marriage God's way through right order, surrender, heart posture, and spirit-led transformation. This is not self-help, it's discipleship. My name is Chelsey Holm, and my role is to help you move from awareness into obedience so real healing, wholeness, and restoration can take root. Let's begin. Welcome back to the High Level Wife Podcast. I'm Chelsey Holm, your host, and I am recording this podcast episode, and then I am going to sit in my favorite spot on my porch in the sun, reading my Bible and spending some time journaling. That's one of my favorite things to do. But I was just doing some coaching with one of my long-term clients, and we were talking about the different things that our spouses walk through. And specifically, she was struggling with the fact that her husband is more so closed off or shutting down, following him eliminating certain substances from his life, right? And Tommy, the owner, founder, creator, runner, top coach of High Level Husband, I frequently quote him saying that we as a people are not so much a pleasure-seeking society as we are a pain-avoiding society through pleasure-seeking, right? And for the majority of substance abuse in our society, most are very socially acceptable, right? If you go anywhere and you say, well, I don't drink, people automatically assume that you had a drinking problem and that's why you no longer drink, rather than it being a personal choice or conviction that it's just not good for you. It's not good for you physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, relationally, any of that, right? As part of High Level Wife and High Level Husband, within the first week, the reset phase, we get rid of everything that inhibits or blocks or numbs or like all of these things, right? But here's the challenge of that, because if you are someone who has relied on substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs or other numbing type agents, whether illegal or illegal, there is going to be this storming period where, what do most people do? Drink. They take the edge off, right? With alcohol, right? Dull the senses a little bit, right? So it's a little bit easier to have more confidence, right? The lampshade on the head mentality. So when those things are no longer there, what most people don't understand is that you are learning how to navigate discomfort without numbing it, dulling it, avoiding it altogether, whatever. And it's a challenge. We don't like pain. We don't like discomfort, right? So through pleasure seeking, we do that to avoid pain and discomfort. And so if you're someone who your spouse is reliant on substances for whether it's to relax at the end of the day, whether it's to maybe have a confidence boost, take the edge off, or even more heavily to really not deal with a lot of the inner pain and turmoil that's there, right? To cover it up, to numb out, all those things. And now they don't have that. Well, it's going to be very uncomfortable for them. And so what you don't want to do is to ease your own discomfort of now they're just shutting you out and not talking to you, right? Or refusing to talk about challenging things because they don't have that buffer anymore that helped them to navigate those things before. You, in your discomfort, will want to overstep and try to help them, right? Essentially, what you're doing is pushing them or pulling them through an open door, when really your role is to open the door and to be patient, to encourage them, support them. That is all, right? But also to show understanding that they are learning all new skills and they're doing it in the midst of discomfort that they have very successfully avoided for many, many years, right? Obviously, it doesn't negate the fact that it created other discomfort for others around them and for themselves inadvertently, right? But I was just coaching with this wife and encouraging her that pushing or trying to pull your husband through this door is not going to be helpful. And instead, what you want to do is keep that door open of vulnerability, right? But he's feeling extremely uncomfortable right now because he is in a position where vulnerability before was typically numbed by substances. And now he doesn't have that. So he is learning how to navigate and to function within vulnerability in the midst of discomfort. And this is going to take some time. Um, I mean, this husband is working with a coach, so that is helpful. This husband also, there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of reason why he began using substances in the first place, right? A lot of pain there that is going to be really uncomfortable and also really necessary for him to walk through. But it's not your job to push or pull him through walking through that. It's your responsibility to intercede on his behalf, but to encourage him, to build him up, to speak to the king in him, to have eyes to see him as Jesus sees him and not as you think he should be, right? So when you function in this way, what you do is you create space for him to step into when he is ready, as the Lord leads him and works in him and through him. And it's the only way that this works with a spouse. So I share this with you because you need to understand that within marriage, vulnerability is such a key to oneness, right? To becoming one, because what happens is when we experience discomfort, we want to self-protection. There is no room for self-protection to coexist within marriage, where to becoming one, oneness, one flesh is God's design. There is no room for self-protection to coexist with God's design within marriage. Okay. And so this is where you need to create an awareness around what areas is the Lord revealing to you that he wants to heal. What areas is he revealing and exposing to you that need to be pruned? He wants to prune to refine so that the little fruit that you're producing now will actually be replaced by an area where he has a multiplication of fruit that is going to be produced in and through you. And so, looking at your spouse, how can you create the space for him to step into rather than having a total lack of understanding for him and what he's struggling through, right? It's not going to be helpful for you to try to help him along his way at your speed based on your own understanding, because the Lord has him on a path. And you either trust the Lord or you don't. Do you trust the Lord to work in and through your husband according to his plan and design, based on the testimony that he's creating in him and developing that will be deployed? Or will you lean on your own understanding and essentially hinder and slow down the plans of the Lord, and sometimes, oftentimes, damage the work that the Lord is doing in him and through him? It's something to think about, and it is probably an area we can all benefit from when we're looking at how we're interacting with our husband, right? Obviously, we want to align our hearts with the Father's and see our husband's hearts as the Father does, but also to not create, but to have an understanding that you are self-protecting for certain things too. And this is the interesting part of marriage, because when one self-protects and then the other is self-protecting, then we get into this design that is complete contradiction with God's design for marriage. And we wonder why it's not working, right? Or why we're really struggling, or why we're like missing on everything, right? And so vulnerability Oneness in marriage cannot coexist with self-protection. And so often, if we could just have a heart of understanding, of being understanding to one another, not saying that we are saying like your sins are okay. No, but trusting that the Holy Spirit is working in our husbands and to show understanding for them that they are submitted to the Lord in this, just as you are, and your responsibility is to be submitted to the Lord in it for the Lord to work in and through you, and that willingness to not self-protect and to walk through these things. So I know this is a challenging episode, right? Because again, it always goes back to it requires us to die to ourselves. It requires us to actually one of the coaches I was talking to recently in High Level Husband, he said, a great tool that he and his wife, or that he used towards his wife early on, was he took the Corinthians love passage of love is patient, love is kind. He took love out and he put his own name in there. And so that was kind of his gauge on, am I in alignment with the Father's heart right now, or am I not, right? Love does not demand its own way. Chelsey does not demand her own way. If Chelsey is demanding her own way in this situation, in this moment, then her heart is not in line with the Father's. And now we see the actual problem, and we're able to put on and practice walking in humility instead, right? So maybe that would be a great place for you to start, is to go to the Corinthians love passage, right? First Corinthians. Yeah, I think First Corinthians. It's the one that everyone read on their wedding day, right? But hardly anyone follows. First Corinthians. Oops, pushed the wrong button here. I use the Bible app. It's my favorite. But yeah, First Corinthians 13, starting in verse 4, all the way through the end, 13, 4 through 13. Let me just read it to you. Love is patient and kind. So can you say your name, patient and kind? Love does not envy or boast. So Chelsey does not envy or boast. I do not envy or boast. I am not arrogant or rude. I do not insist on my own way. I'm not irritable or resentful. I do not rejoice at wrongdoing, but I rejoice with the truth. I bear all things. I believe all things. I hope all things. I endure all things. Love never ends, right? Does my love never end? Or am I saying, well, that's too many times to forgive, right? No, that's not in alignment with the Father's heart. And what I love about this passage, right? What I love about this is if you keep reading, as for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when the perfect comes, the partial will pass away. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I gave up childish ways. How much would your marriage benefit if you gave up childish ways? If you stopped thinking like a child and speaking like a child and reasoning like a child, and if you just grew up and give up those childish ways, right? For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. And then 13. So now faith, hope, and love abide. These three, but the greatest of these is love, right? Can you say, I have all faith, hope, and love, and I abide in these? And I truly trust and believe and live out that love is the greatest of these. So start there. Put your name in there. And also look at how emotionally mature or immature you are. How are you still speaking and reasoning and thinking like a child? And it's time for you to grow up and to give up childish ways. It's going to do so much for you personally, but even more so in your walk with the Lord and ultimately your marriage. I'll see you on the next episode. If this episode stirred something in you, but high level wife feels like too big of a step right now, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to jump ahead to honor what God is doing. I created a short guided experience called From Awareness to Surrender for women who aren't ready for ongoing support but know they can't stay where they are. It includes 3 short teachings, a guided exercise, and a prayer I recorded over you. It's going to help you move from awareness into real response. You'll find a link in the show notes. And if you're not ready even for that, don't rush past this moment. Sit with God and ask Him what obedience looks like next.